don't think Dune knows how to please a woman. That's obviously a joke, given that I am non-binary and don't really even believe in the concept of gender. I'm just sitting here feeling very superior today because if I was trying to please an entire half of society as a whole, I don't think I'd go for my shot to be ending my novel with the sentence, "History will remember us not as the concubines, but as the wives." Hot take of the day right there. It does, yet again, contribute to this whole discussion of Dune as a feminist work, and I actually have to give it some points back. It was written in 1960, and the hot take of some marriages are for political reasons and otherwise loveless and a sham, and what really matters is who cares about you and is loyal to you. That's actually not terrible. Intimacy being the most important thing to a person is not the world's worst hot take. I just think that thankfully our conversation about gender has moved past that point. So you know what? No hate. No hate. I'm gonna make a little fun of it, but no hate. I mean, look at this smile. How can you say no to that smile? I have to admit that I read the last 100 pages of Dune in what felt like 10 minutes. When I looked at the clock, it, I guess, had been an hour, but genuinely, not even hyperbole here, I thought I had been sitting there for 10 minutes. So, I still have some dislike of Dune in the sense that it's incredibly pretentious. Everyone talks like they're a great philosopher, like they're the next Aristotle, and are very sure of themselves. But, you know, I mean, I guess it's nice that it's everyone. So sometimes we disabuse people of those notions and or they die for them in shock and awe that they could be wrong. Never heard of her. It's not really my cup of tea to be so damn certain of ourselves. It doesn't even seem to work for most of the characters, but Paul gets to be right all the time. But I suppose I can't complain because the damn thing slipped by. I mean, I'm the chick that will read Ayn Rand for fun because she's so fun to make fun of. Her ideas are terrible, her writing is terrible, and her characters are non-existent, transparent little ghosts that just mean nothing and do nothing and are adorable. It's hilariously bad. But even though I'm enjoying how terrible Ayn Rand is, it is genuinely hard to read and get through a lot of the times. And for all that I say I didn't like Dune, it was not hard for me to swallow that 794-page novel. So I don't know. I can't hate on it too much. As I felt near the beginning, it was a mix. It was a mix of things. One of which is unsatisfying. The ending to Dune has left me with so many questions, as I was afraid it would. At the end of the book, we're having this great big showdown with the Emperor, and Paul's troops have, like, ridden in on giant worms and destroyed just so many people. He's lost a son, and he should be angry, but he doesn't seem to care, which we love.
Help me! Help me!
His wife, Chiani, is now being usurped for some princess, but it's okay because he ain't gonna fuck her. He's just gonna marry her.
Bruh.
And Paul, I guess, has gotten the throne of the Emperor. And he's sending the Emperor to be in charge of the prison planet that his troops come out of. This prison planet has such tough conditions that the survivors become the Emperor's most valuable elite troops because they're that tough. Well, Paul's putting the Emperor as the Duke of that planet and making it a nice little garden place instead of a prison, because that also removes the troops from the man, which is a smart play. But it's extremely unsatisfying in the sense that we've spent this entire novel discussing Paul's mystical psychic abilities and the fact that he can, like, see the future, but not all futures. There's still some gaps in his vision. or events that happen too quickly for him to check what's going to happen. All this time, he's been trying to be a good person and fight this oncoming jihad, as they literally call it. And most of the past that he sees for the future that were constructed before he was born, just the events that are taking place around him that he needs to react to, most of those paths lead to the jihad, where he leads his battle and toughened desert planet troops, which are better than the elite Empire's troops because Dune is worse than a prison planet. He's going to lead them across the stars in a jihad to end all jihads. And he's been spending most of his time trying to fight that ending. He doesn't want it. He doesn't want the bloodshed, which actually seems like a cool idea for a novel, but the way they word it is often questionable. Honestly, at the end, I have no idea whether the jihad is happening or not happening, and that's one of the many things that I find extremely unsatisfying about this novel. Did Paul overcome the future he saw coming? Was he able to create his own, or did he follow one of the many predetermined paths that he felt he was stuck with? I have no idea. If you can tell me, please do. Honestly, when I had less than 100 pages to go, and they haven't even begun a conflict between Paul and the Emperor himself, I kind of knew this is where we were going to end. I'm actually surprised that as much action happened in the last 100 pages as it did. It's also interesting because Paul thinks he's going to be a great emperor, and everyone thinks Paul's going to be a great emperor. But I actually have a philosophy, a little theory, a little hypothesis that that's not true. See, Paul bested the emperor on his home turf. And yeah, he bested said emperor pretty goddamn well. He managed to get the entire merchant caste that are secretly kind of running everything to bow to him because he threatened to destroy the supply of spice that keeps them operating. And the Reverend Mothers, the Bene Gesserit, he also will destroy if he destroys the spice because they use it as a drug that gives them their soothsaying abilities. So he can destroy both of those people in one go if he destroys all the spice, which he can do. He can poison all the spice wells through nonsense magic, but he can. He genuinely could destroy all the worms on Arrakis and all the spice on Arrakis because it comes from the worms. That was like a major reveal in the beginning of the book, but it wasn't that fascinating, so I didn't tell you. And so he manages to get them to bow to his wishes. He manages to kick the emperor in the ass and marry his daughter. And all that's pretty cool, but like, he did that because they came to Arrakis. They thought that they could fight him on his home turf, and he used guerrilla warfare, using the people in all the cities that have been oppressed forever, convincing them to fight back by literally, apparently, mothers throwing babies at soldiers to distract them. Literally throwing babies and then impaling themselves on spikes and lances and shit so that someone else could kill the dude while he was distracted and his weapon was busy. I didn't quite get that part, but it was there. Nothing if not reporting the facts. And Paul also used a big, huge mother of all sandstorms that I guess he saw coming to fight within that storm. They thought he wouldn't attack during then, or if he did, he'd be as hampered as them. But they are the Frenchmen. They're the people of Dune, and Dune works for them, and they can use nature to their advantage because they can survive here. But if he hadn't had the storm, if he hadn't had the worms, if he hadn't had a weird homicidal population, he wouldn't have won. So how is he going to hold power over everyone in the future as the emperor? If he leaves Dune, he's done. If he leaves Dune, his threat to kill and destroy all the spice is like, it's nullified. It's nothing. Because if he's not there, how's he going to do it? I don't see where this goes. I don't inherently hate an open-ended novel, but I don't understand what's going to happen next. I think the whole thing's going to fall apart, but that's just me. Daddy's going to make a new princess. and he's gonna come back with his troops that admittedly are gonna not be replenished in the future, but he has some now from his prison planet. You can stop him from making new ones by terraforming the prison planet and making it not so prisony, but you still have the problem of troops in the now that he can pull from and survive off of, and we'll have a planet full of. And just Paul's a very creative survivalist who's amazing at guerrilla warfare. I just don't see how that's going to help him hold an entire empire across several galaxies. And I enjoyed knocking a lot of powerful people down a couple pegs. I did. Don't get me wrong. It's like a game of Risk with your family, and you absolutely have that beautiful control over those 4 little country territories in Australia, but then you try to take Asia. He knows nothing about ruling people who aren't directly in front of him. That's my hot take on Dune. Honestly, I have a feeling that the next novel, Dune Messiah, is basically going to be an epilogue or a part 4 to this book that will actually, maybe, satisfactorily round off the story. I don't actually know, but probably I'm going to read it. I'm also probably going to watch the movie because I actually have no idea how you plan to make this into a movie in the first place. Probably by inventing your own ending, at least showing Paul sitting on a throne. I'm kind of curious, so I'm going to check that out. We'll watch the trailer of the movie and see if we can make some guesses at what the hell it is they're going to do with the new one. Hopefully, they're not going to take this novel as a shot for shot. I just don't see how that will be interesting, entertaining, or relevant to a modern audience. That's all I had for you today. Please don't at me about the makeup situation. After finishing Dune, I took a moment to become presentable, and I don't know what this makeup is. I don't know why green eyeshadow underneath my eyes is where we were going with today. I can't explain it to myself, so I don't know why you think I could explain it to you. Please love me unconditionally enough to not ask, because I don't know. Thank you for sticking with me through Dune. Now get out of my green tinted face.